Happy Sunday.
Hey, what's going on, sir?
What's happening?
Buenos días, Lorenzo.
What's up?
¿Cómo estás?
Buenos días. Buenos días.
Este Lauder.
Hi, Rennie. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
It's good to see you again.
Yep.
Yeah, likewise. Let me turn you up.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay, there you go.
Oh.
Yay. So do you have like something to hold your phone now?
You moving on up, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta move up in the world, trying to be, keep up with the young folk.
It made me laugh because yesterday we actually had a great conversation with Why Not. And
Oh, okay.
Why Not was doing a little bit of clowning because he was talking about how you were all up in the phone like this.
That's because I didn't have my gimbal out, and I was just pushing up. I had the phone up against the computer.
Oh, okay.
And so y'all couldn't hear me, and then
Yeah.
so I had to hold it like.
Well, Rennie, you're back by popular demand. We got so many people asking they wanted to hear more about you. They were super inspired. We got all kinds of messages, and you're like our 5th interview series, but you're the only one that we're asking back in a sense, because I felt there was so much more that we could share about you. And I was seeing all the questions that were coming up, and folks just wanted to know more. So I'm like, you know what? We have access to Rennie. We could ask him. Let's just get going and, let people get a glimpse as to why we love and adore you so much and respect and admire all your work. So thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
It's 2 p.m. in the East Coast, so let's see who's listening. So thank you for everybody for joining us today. Like I said, this is a Versus Style Conversation series, and we're just so excited to have Rennie back with us. So Rennie, we're just going to get to it.
Uh-huh.
One of the things I was just really inspired by, specifically even yesterday, because Why Not was talking about his history and how he was in Philly and then in New Jersey and how he met you. And we were reminiscing about how we met Why Not. And we were talking about the power in this platform that Philadelphia Festival had on so many dancers. And we were both agreeing on how you were just so ahead of your time at that time. Now there's like intensives everywhere. There's people doing their own kind of version of intensive. But I have to say, back then, when we first went in 2005.
2005 was our first time.
First time to get the full throttle experience of dance classes, and strictly just dance classes. And you brought all the legends together under one roof. You had a panel discussion. There was after parties in the night at clubs. It was a true essence of like the culture and exchange. So the reason I'm asking is I wanted you to like give us a sense of what you were, I don't know if you can even take it that back, but what were you thinking at that time? What inspired you to create this platform, to bring all these teachers together? And maybe describe one of your highlights in the midst of all these years that you might remember regarding the festival. And I'm sure you have many.
Yeah, you have many.
You have shared some stories with us.
We started, I started the festival in, I think, 1997.
Wow.
And so it was like, 97. And it really had to do with somebody. I was working on Roman Jewels at the time. And one of the dancers that went out, we had a break. And so one of the dancers went out to get some food, and they came back. And they were telling me about what one of the person at the store had said to them when they told them they were here working with me. And the person asked, "Hey, what you doing in Philly?" And he's like, because the person was from DC, the breaker. And he said, "Oh, I'm working with Rennie Harris, blah, 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 blah." And then he said, Rennie don't know nothing about no hip hop. Of course, that, pissed me off, to say the least. I was like, what? Because I love Philly, like nobody else's business. So, one of the things I realized when he said that, it kind of opened my eyes to others, because people didn't know my history. Right? They didn't know I started in 80, professionally, like in 79, you know what I mean? 1979, and the rap tours and all that, because we didn't have the social media and the stuff that we have today. I mean, the internet wasn't even invented, right?
I know.
And so, to most people, I kind of came out of nowhere, but people who know me, who rocked out with me when I lived in New York for a brief time, they know my history, and I realized that no one really knew my history. And they didn't know that I come from before it was ever called hip hop. There was no such thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody called it hip hop at all. And so So that was like the thing that pushed me, is like, oh, okay. And the other thing was because I was doing what I was doing in theater at that time, people were challenging me, saying I wasn't hip hop. I was, that's the worst insult you can ever, as a street dancer, be like, what? Are you kidding? You know what I mean? I watch people, fight and die and get locked up for this thing. You know what I mean? And lives were changed because of what we were doing. And even when we did the theater, in the very beginning, they were saying them our shows were picketed. Police were at our shows all the time, all that, because they didn't know what it, you know what I mean? Like, it was a whole full-on movement at the time. And so in any case, I started this festival, Philadelphia Legends. And, because I thought all the other stuff, like battling, man, I've been battling all my life. You know what I mean? So I was like, battle? Why are people, they're going these battles? And so I'm saying, no, this is about education and re-educating the masses about what hip hop is and what street dance is. And so I started that in 1997. And it wasn't until, I think, Buddha Stretch was the one who pulled me to the side and said, Rennie, you're the first one to have ever done this. You set the model for all the other intensives. And this was like in early 2000s, something like that, when he said that. I was like, and it blew me away, because I didn't know. I thought people were doing this, but they weren't having intensives only around education. Okay. Yeah. And that was my point, only around education, because education on all facets will change the future.
Heck yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, that changed the whole, even, sense of our careers and how we thought of hip hop as a whole. I was so invested because I grew up with it, being from Los Angeles, Echo Park, hearing music. I had that experience, but then to have this platform where you would bring all these legends together. Rennie, I'm from LA, and it took us to go to Philadelphia to meet Don Campbell. Mm-hmm. It took us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a big deal. Yeah, I was like, wow, we're going to meet Don Campbell. Oh my God. Because you would give the roster in advance, and we would get hyped. Lee and I would plan the day out. Yep. Remember that? Yep. And that's where we personally met Mr. Wiggles for the first time. We met Marjorie Smart for the first time. Buddha Stretch for the first time. Jazzy J. Popmaster Faith.
Yeah, I wanted to bring the East Coast and West Coast cast together, and also too, what I didn't mention was that was the moment because I wanted to document without documenting. Yeah. And so the experience was you get to still to this day you get to hang out with Tyrone Proctor.
Yep.
In the hallway, have a lunch.
I remember
with Skeeter Rabbit. Rest in peace. You can hang out with any little, like it was one of those things where I wanted people to have and hear the stories through organic way versus it being forced. Yeah, we had like panels and things of that nature, just to be official, right? But the panels are, to me, panels are whack. The reason why I say panels are whack because you don't really get to have a full conversation. You just go in and you start some argument and some debating, and then it's done in an hour or 30 minutes, right? Yeah. So here at Philadelphia Legends, you can chill. You can get a private lesson. You can pull somebody, you know what I mean? Like, and I felt that was more valuable to hip hop culture and street dance culture than anything else. And especially with the pioneers themselves. Do you know how many arguments and debates I heard that would never, ever happen again?
I'm sure.
Like just them going off with each other as peers, debating history.
Wow.
And I just sat there and listened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was what's beautiful. I recall you made it open for everyone. Yeah. I think that you remember that hallway, Rennie. It was like this hallway.
And for us, that's because we went to the U of Arts or the
U of Arts,
U of Arts, and so that was our first time because I know you originally had it at Philadelphia and other places, but our first time
at the CEC,
So our first time was U of Arts, but she's talking about that hallway
that connected all the studios together.
Yeah.
I love that spot, man. I really did love that spot. I missed that spot.
It was a gift, and then even speaking to Juana, because Juana, we were like, when's the first time we met you? And he was like, yeah, I remember y'all at Philadelphia, and I'm like, oh my God, Philadelphia just really opened our eyes, Rennie, and also the networking and relationships that we were able to build off that. Like that was the beginning of my journey with Rockefeller and Marjorie Smart, that you were able to bring these women, I recall. I could go on and
well, I mean, you know, that was the thing, because a lot of people always felt like street dance or hip hop was like male dominated. I said, no, that's the media. That's not. I know strong women who do this thing. You know what I mean? And you know, hip hop culture fell into the machine of, you know, corporations or what have you, and they're gonna push sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know what I mean? They're gonna push all of that, right? And so often we started believing it, and then people started, well, Rennie, where are the women? Like, no, the women were there. No one really talks about, like, for my company, we started off with more women than we did with men. But here's the ironic thing. We got more work. Anytime we did a performance that we were just all men, we would double our work for some reason, right? Because we were dancing with our shirts off. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be real about it. We were being objectified.
It's real.
People were throwing money at us.
Wow.
And so it was like the reverse, you know what I mean? But when I had the whole company, and they just couldn't believe it was male and female, they couldn't believe that, you know, like, oh wow, the women. I'm like, yeah, what did you think? Like, I'm not gonna get in a cipher. I barely would get in a cipher with Kim D. Holmes. Like, I'm not. Are you crazy? Like, why would I? The women are beasts. Like,
to this day, Kim still kills it. I recall Ladies of Hip Hop yet last year. We were all together. She's in the circle. No one went in after Rennie. I'm like, how do you go in after that? Her essence, her aura, the way she demanded the space, and to know that you've known her since. I mean, that was like such an educational moment. And Crystal's right here. Hi, Crystal.
And Crystal, I was going to say Chris Styles. You know what I mean? Like, you know, she really marked the second wave of women in our company that came in, because there was a wave of women before her, and then there was maybe a year or two that we were just kind of floating around. And then when Crystal came in, that just kicked that brought in Jules, Alexa, even Michelle was training with us for a while.
Michelle
Well, Rennie, I have a question. What came first? Was it the Philadelphia tour when you took the legends out on tour, or did the intensive inspire you to take them out on tour?
The intensive inspired the tour, because I felt like everybody needed to see this. And I had a grand plan. I was pushing a museum, a traveling museum with Philadelphia. So wherever they went, like, they had this travel museum, like all this stuff we were pushing for a long time. We finally got overseas. We toured for like a couple years, you know.
And who was in this tour? Maybe you could tell the folks a bit about who was in this tour.
And what year? And what year did you start touring with them?
I can't remember what year. I can tell you we started performing we started doing a performance called Philadelphia at the end.
Okay.
And that's what kicked off the tour.
Got you. Okay.
But there was the Untouchables, which like freestyle, like it was like old school hip hop. Buddha Stretch, Miss V, Tweety, Munsell had danced a few times on Legends. The Electric Boogaloos, the Rock Steady crew, members from New York City Breakers. Who else? Don Campbell.
Wow.
Greg Pope.
Oh wow.
Who else? Shallow and all those cats from Boston. Like, we used to have a freestyle section where then, you know, Shakespeare and them used to come down and like get down. We had a freestyle section at the end originally where all the legends would come from different places all over and then come just for the freestyle part.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And so I would sometimes, you know, Forrest Gump, you know what I mean? Get him Gump. You know what I mean? A lot, you know, Ken Swift, Mr. Wiggles.
What a lineup.
Fable. You know what I mean? Jazzy J, Soulfire. Yo, it used to be on. Super, and then Philly pioneers would come out.
That's
you know what I mean, as well. So, you know, from the Scanner Boys to the Pop-Along Kids, you know, the Furious Rockers, you know what I mean?
People are asking, is there footage? Is there footage locked up somewhere in the basement of all this?
There is footage. There's footage. Yeah, there's some footage. Yeah, somewhere.
We
You
need
need
that
to post,
Rennie
Rennie. Come
Harris
on,
archives,
man.
I have a
Rennie.
storage.
You're
I have a
holding out on
storage.
us.
Listen, I have a storage I just went through right before this, you know, the Rona 19 broke out. And I found all these VHS tapes.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, snap.
Man.
So,
You need me to
and
transfer
I
them.
used to write and document my
Yeah.
stuff and knew what was what. So there is footage.
If you need somebody to help transfer them,
We volunteer.
I got you.
We'll actually volunteer.
I just got to bring my hard drive. That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
Look,
Yes, sir.
Ernesto says he'll hook it up. He's
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Ernesto be killing that game. Yo. I'm like, yo, he need to do double duty.
And Rennie, one of the questions too that I just saw, people are kind of curious in the sense, how would you find funding or support for this? I don't know if you even had funding or support, but how would you make it happen?
Yeah.
Because you were so innovative in that way as
Well, honestly, I have to say the Future Aesthetics, the Ford Foundation actually helped me in the very beginning. I think they gave us over like $250,000 in this hate, like overall. They also gave me money to re-grant. So they gave me money, like I would see artists, say if y'all were coming up and I got money to re-grant, I would give you guys, money. Certain people, I gave money for their documentary. You know what I mean? Like some of the things you guys see today. I don't know if y'all see those photos with the, you'll see Electric Boogaloo's photos and Don Campbell photos. Really, those were by me.
Those are from you?
your kid, the ones with the blue suits, the famous. Wow.
All those photos, but the thing was, no one really, they don't know, so I don't get no credit. This is courtesy of Rennie Harris. Like it should be, because I took them to get to when we were doing Legends, I was like, look, we need a photo shoot. And I got 2 photo shoots. We did one in I think not Detroit, what's the Twin Cities, Minnesota, and we did one in Philly. That I just straight put the money up for, and those photo shoots turned out to be the iconic photos.
Yeah, still to this day.
To this day, and I see them everywhere, and I just kind of laugh about it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, wow, like who thought that these would be the ones, like all the Boogaloo's photos with the black suits, blues, Sam is in black. Yeah, I'm standing right behind the camera.
Wow, Rennie, it's like the documentary LA Originals where Esteban talks about all his photos. We need to have
that documentary is beast.
Yes. Yeah. But you're kind of like that for hip hop dancing culture, man. Like,
if you think about it,
yeah.
I'm gonna call it Rennie's Original.
That's funny.
I had no idea about those pictures and stuff. I mean, Rennie, right now, I know I've said this many times, but because we have so many people listening, my gratitude to you, because I recall when we went to Philadelphia, you would hook us up. I mean, I'm just gonna straight up say it. You would give us mad discounts, and we would bring the posse. We would bring LA, not LA, but
I felt people like in the beginning. I want to show love, right? You know what I mean? A lot of these intensives that cost so much money that in street dance culture, really, most of hip hop from where we came from was just free, right? So events just happen, and so, but now we're in a different time, right? These pioneers need to make money. They need, nobody's taking care of them, you know what I mean? And so I often, from paying out of my pocket, from the RHPM also paying, you know what I mean? The money that comes from the students is very little money. I mean, the most we ever charge is like $500 for a week or 3 or 4 days, right? Yeah. You got me? And then after that, I'm discounting people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To give them their first shot. Like, you know what I mean? Even not right now, you hook up this Rennie Harris at Gmail, like you need a hook up, I'm gonna hook you up with the hope that the next time you come back, you saved your money, you're gonna pay the full price. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I felt like we need to work with folk, and the pioneers are working with me because they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, on some like the EBs, woo. Nice, and they still show love because they look out. They've been looking out for me because of that time. You know what I mean? Like Pete just did Rennie Harris Functified. We just hired him to perform as in Breeze's place. You know what I mean? Like I still show love as much as I can because, you know, I don't care what it is, man. You're not gonna get love back if you don't put it out. And even on the people who was coming at you,
yeah,
you gotta love them. You gotta put your ego aside and love them.
Yeah.
Have your moment, cuss them out, have a drink, but you gotta come back with some love.
Yeah.
But that thing is not gonna come back at you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Rennie, we kept coming back. I mean, you still can't get rid of us. Look, we met you in 05.
15 years later.
15 years later.
Yeah,
and,
man.
I mean, at least here in Philadelphia, we were lucky to meet you in 2002. But then when we really got to work with you and go to Philly, because I recall you were at UCLA, and Lee and I were like these devoted students, and you're like, you need to come to Philadelphia. I'm like, what's Philadelphia? What the heck is that? Like, no idea. Just opened my mind.
And you know, I love Philly. I want people to come to Philly and have a cheesesteak. I invited you to my house.
Yes, you did.
Y'all remember?
Yes,
I personally cooked each one of your crew members a cheesesteak.
Hands down, the best Philly cheesesteak ever.
Rennie's a chef, everybody.
The best.
I'm a chef. That's right.
No, but also just shout out to Philly too, because I mean, and we gotta put this on YouTube, Rennie. Like, you gave us the sneaker addictive, you know, shopping spree thing. Because when you go to Philly, you know, a lot of people don't know, but when you go to Philly, like, you're also seeing a lot of what hip hop culture and fashion is. A lot of times, you know, Philly kind of trademarks a lot of what we see in terms of fashion, and just when we always come back with a full suitcase of shoes, hats, clothes. And
I took y'all on that. I took y'all on that tour. Remember that sneaker tour, right? We went to almost
South Street, right?
Yeah, South Street. We went down North Philly. I mean, it's little pockets of street, you know, pockets of sneakers. Like, you're not going to get them anywhere else.
We couldn't believe it.
Some of them,
we
like,
got those shoes when we were trying to do stepping with you. What were the shoes called?
Bally.
Stacey Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You personally took us in. You know the owner. You tell him to hook it up. We bought our first pair of Stacey Adams, and we felt how it was night and day dancing in those shoes.
Yeah, but let me tell you this story. That when I went to pick up a hat at one of the hat stores in Philly, and I told them, like, yo, my name is Rennie, and they blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I remember you when you were a kid, blah blah blah. And I said, yeah, I'm having this festival. I got so and so. I got Don Campbell. He's like, Don Campbell? Don Campbell? Yeah, man, they used to come here all the time to get hats.
Wow.
I go back to the hotel. I go to Don. I said, Don, y'all. He said, yeah, man. You know how Don talk.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, we go get some hats, and they got the platform shoes, the old 1970 platform hush marshmallows or hush puppies or whatever they were called at the time. Mm-hmm. He said they got them out of Philly, and the hats. Every time that when they came to Philly to perform, or close to New York or whatever, they would come to Philly and cop hats and shoes.
That's crazy.
Now, he told me that personally.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it was a lot. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know? And so, you know, I really started to research my own place, man. I think that's important. Like, you know, love your place, rep your place, and rep your place until you die. You know what I mean? Because that's your birthland. You know what I mean? Your place. You know what I mean? Like really hard. Like, when I come to LA, I want to, you know, do some LA shit. I want to know, like, what's what and who's who. And all right, don't go down that block, but you can go down this way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everywhere in that sense, if you really go and investigate into these neighborhoods. I mean, I take so much pride in that. Anytime people ask where you're dancing or what, I'm always like, Philly. I did all my training in Philly. I met these folks in Philly and New York. Because Lee and I would always take the train to them. Anytime we go to Philly, we would make sure to take that train and go to New York.
Yeah, and just real quick, just what's up to everybody. Peace out with the I see the hearts and the hands clapping. Yeah. You know, just I see y'all's responses, so you know, just say what's up real quick.
And since we're talking about Philadelphia, maybe, I don't know, this might be a hard question in another way, but could you give us one memory of a highlight moment with one of the teachers in Philadelphia? Like, what was probably the most difficult or highlight moment or funny moment, whatever it is, but share.
We know you have a lot.
I know you have so many.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's one that was not So I can't tell you, I don't want to put them on blast, but it was some funny. So one of my dancers, I think, Ryan Cleet, I don't know if he's on, but Ryan Cleet danced for me for like 10 years. And we met Ryan as a Gallaudet School for the Deaf in DC.
Yeah.
A little bit, I think it's maybe outside DC. And so he came to Philadelphia, and he was like, his sister came and his sister was signing and saying he wants to join the company. Oh. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me see what you got. Take some classes at Philadelphia. I gave him a scholarship to do it for free.
That's beautiful. At
that time, Ryan didn't have a hearing aid, so he couldn't, like, it helps if he feels a vibration, but he was just going, like, he was killing it, right? So one of the teachers, Pioneer, who we all know, Ryan is in front. He's dancing. So, and I'm watching the class, and the teacher's going, yo, what is wrong? Like, here's the beat. He's saying this out loud to everybody. Here's the beat. This is what you have to do, right? And so he plays the music, and he stops the music and then he looks right at Ryan and said, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you deaf? Right? And so, and then the whole class went quiet. And so then they go, and then somebody said, they rose their hand just like this. Mr. So-and-so, yes, he's actually deaf. I rolled so hard.
I can't imagine.
But it wasn't like, it was just about how it's just how it taught me such a lesson as a teacher to don't make assumptions. You know what I mean? And it was an amazing moment. So I just thought it was, and then of course we just cracked up later and teased them all day. And so they became cool. They became friends and the whole nine. And it was stuff like that, you know what I mean? Or, watching, Don go at it with people like, no, man, I just made up the lock. That's the lock. That's it. Skeeter Rabbit is a Skeeter Rabbit. The Scooby-Doo is a Scooby-Doo. And people were just arguing and debating. And like to walk up onto one of these things was, to me, the payoff. That's the thing I want to see. Because, we create these things a lot of times, like with industries, they want to recreate some shit. No. I'm sorry. Fuck that. Just put some people in the room. It's going to happen or it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
That's street culture. That's hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't have to fucking recreate the Muggsy face. All these, like, if you don't come from that culture, just don't come from it. Like, what are you scrunching your face up for?
Yeah.
Like, your brother didn't get shot. Your mom didn't get beat up and put in the hospital. Like, you didn't like running away from no shit. Like again, like, that's not where you come from. Be who you are. Exactly. And I'm gonna love you. Like, you won't be loved.
Yes.
You don't have to look at that shit on television and you like, oh, I want to be like, man, forget that. How do you rock? You know what I mean? Like, I rock my Philly hats, and that's my, I don't have no more hair now.
Ta-da!
That's the big reveal. But you know what I'm saying? How do you rock? And that's the most important part about hip hop culture. All right, I'm gonna say this, but if anyone repeats this, make sure you quote me. There are 3 laws of hip hop: individuality, creativity, and innovation. Those 3 laws govern our whole nation of hip hop. I may rock my hat like this, but another cat might be like this. Right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody, you have to be an individual, creative, and maybe you become an innovator. Those 3 laws, that's why you can't get in a cipher and do it the same move you did 2 minutes ago. You can barely wear the same clothes without somebody saying, dang, why are you still wearing that? You got me? It's about moving forward. And that's why I don't really fully agree in what I feel like is people are calling hip hop. I'm like, to me, my opinion, everyone looks the same. Everyone sounds the same in hip hop, what they're calling hip hop. For my day, you know, Rakim was different from X-Clan. X-Clan is different from PRT, right?
Yep.
PRT is different from Public Enemy. Run DMC is different from Grandmaster Flash. In clothes, style, and sound.
Yep.
You're right.
You can look at each one of them groups from back then and go, even before records.
Yep.
Spoonie G versus Funky 4 plus one more. Before there were anybody recorded. No one talks about the rappers before this that were in the 70s, before there was an actual record.
Yep.
Those pioneers. They called it, to me, Run DMC, that generation, Houdini, all those cats, that they're old school, but they're not my old school. My old school was like, you know, Double Trouble.
Yeah.
A little bit, like before, you know, Funky 4 plus one more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Damn.
Well, you just schooled us big time right now.
Yeah.
I think this explains why you're always just so ahead of every way, Rennie. Because we're talking back, if you did Illidump in 97, you were just eons ahead of everyone. And I love how you're talking about like the individuality and how everything needs to be different. Because even with your lineup of teachers, it was like that.
Yeah.
I already knew if I was going to take a popping class with Jazz and Jay, I was going to have a complete different experience with Wiggles and a different experience with Pop Master Fable.
Yeah.
And every class was like that. Every single class.
My own people were like, why you got 3 popping classes? Don't worry about it. Completely different philosophy and approach.
Yeah.
You're gonna benefit from that.
Yeah,
because
my mind was blown away.
We didn't have that.
Yeah.
We had my little neighborhood. We didn't have like what Illidump has.
Yep.
Like I'm about to go in here and like approach this thing from Ken Swift to Rockefeller to Quick Step, you know, Little Lep toward, you know what I mean, to Little Lep, how each person teach, you know what I mean? Don Campbell versus, you know, who else we had?
You have Fluky Luke.
Fluky Luke.
You got Fluky Luke. Like,
okay, all right. I have to say this because now I remember a funny moment. I'm walking by a classroom. Now, Fluky Luke, y'all were in it. And because I would check on the classrooms, you know, make sure everybody cool. I walk by and I hear somebody rapping, and it's about milk. And milk is great, and milk is fine. And I look in the room, it's Fluky Luke doing his rap for children. I look, I'm like, what is going on here? I mean, inside, my face was stone.
Yes,
I walk in, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, Rennie. I'm like, hey, brother, that's cool. All right, so we gonna get them, let's get that 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, that kind of thing. And that's my man, but I love him to death, man.
Of course,
love him.
Of course.
Love him.
Rennie.
But that was a funny moment. That was a funny moment.
That's what's beautiful about your festival too, because you were also giving these teachers opportunity to learn how to teach too.
But also come out from the past too, because there was a lot of them that, you know, after they had their era, they were kind of forgotten. And I have to give you full credit where you did a great job in terms of pulling people out of their own comfort shell, their own neighborhood, their own house, and giving them a platform to share because they did contribute in the beginning.
I mean, because Fluky Luke, my memory, your classes were about an hour 15, hour and a half. He taught everything in 20 minutes. So then I recall praying, like, when is Rennie gonna come back? Because he gave us the whole locking vocabulary in 20 minutes.
And then he said at the very end, and when you're done with that, all you gotta do is a tour jeté into a lock.
I love you, Fluky.
Yo, but this is what I'm saying. That's it. You got me to have that experience. Yes. And I wouldn't change that. I didn't really care. Here's the thing. I didn't care if anyone had taught before. I never asked. I just, hey, come teach a class.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? And whatever you got is what you got. And I can tell you this right now. In 20 years of doing Illidump, more than 20 years, maybe, not one complaint. Because the information they were getting was real. The experience they were having was real. And that's how we learn. We didn't learn in the classroom, but you know, sometimes we start learning something, then we sit down and we start talking for a half hour. And then, you know, we might go get something to eat and then start dancing over where we were, or somebody had some emergency, and we, you know, life was happening around us as we were learning to dance. And that's the way. You know what I mean? I see we had Aqua Boogie on
Aqua Boogies. And also Peaches is on, and she said what's up, and so shout out to Peaches.
Oh yeah. What did she? Yeah, that's my girl. You know, I rocked out with her in New York. I told y'all that before already, right? But yeah, but you know, Peaches is a beast, man.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I remember I was just like, I'm afraid of her.
I remember you're the one who told me about her, because you always knew we had a love for popping. And then you're like, Jackie, you know Peaches? I was like, who's Peaches? Again, it took me to go to the East Coast, right? And to learn about just these folks. Marjorie Smart's, the way she would teach house was beautiful, and nothing like Khalif, and nothing like, you know, Brian
Love
Green.
you too, mama.
You know, nothing like Khalif or Brian Green. Everybody had their own style. And honestly, Rennie, to give you props, your house classes were epic. Till this day, you worked us like nobody.
So honestly, versus style, when y'all are blaming me, you need to be blaming Rennie, because I only learned from one person in terms of that. So when y'all suffering, it's because it's Rennie's fault.
You know what? Let me tell you this. I come from a space, you know, and I'm not saying it's unique to how I grew up. I mean, Philly or whatever, but I used to dance with the Stepmasters back in the 70s or late 70s, right? And then from there, and Frank out, shout out to Frank Stewart, known as Money. He's the one that taught me how to do GQ. But that's where I first, and that moved on to the Scanner Boys. And we had a thing where if you messed up one routine, one step in the routine, everybody would sit down and you had to do that one step over 100 times. And we would, when I say 100 times, I'm not exaggerating, we would count.
Don't give Lee ideas.
Look, lift 100 times. And then we would go back, and anytime, so it took us forever to get through a routine, because people was we sit back and wait for them to, because you had to know that backwards, right? When I got to the Scanner Boys, I started implementing, doing the choreography backwards.
Oh my God, Rennie.
This is stuff I don't even teach, you know what I mean? Because I feel like people wouldn't even, my thing of training versus, you know, like Wiggles, Fable, everybody have, you know, the Elite Force, everyone has their own brand of how they train personally.
Sure.
Most people wouldn't go for it in the classroom. You know what I mean? Those who braved it out was like, yo, I want to pop. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's start here. You know, contract that muscle, boom, hit it, bang, right? And then I would just walk out the room. I come back an hour later. If you still hitting it, then good. You know, so most people would stop. So I didn't know where you went. Where'd you go? I'm like, you failed. And so the training process of it, especially for those people who want to get better, they think there's like magic beans to make them better overnight, and asking how long it's going to make them, you know, how long do you think it's going to be before I can become really good? Yep. It was Peaches' role. I remember forward and backwards. Right. And so, yeah, you gotta, you know, the thing is you can accelerate that if you put that sort of training methodology into place. Right. You know it backwards, you know it forwards, you know it sideways, you utilize your space. We used to create diagrams on the floor in order to use the space. You know what I mean? Like, and we follow that diagram. We would challenge. If you step left 2 feet, you doing King Tut. From King Tut, from here to center floor is water wave, like you're just in water coming out of the water, right? From water to water drip to animation, we had different on the floor. We mapped out different places with different styles, so that we would learn how to switch up in a battle, because back then you only learned one style.
Yeah.
Most people didn't. If you waved, that's all you did, was you was a waver. Now people think waving is popping. A wave is a wave. That's it. You know what I mean? So we had to train ourselves to be freestyle, like, meaning what we understood as freestyle, switching from style to style. not just dancing from your heart, right?
Yeah.
We just freestyle for us is switching from style to style.
More
That's
strategic,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so there's a bigger training method out there. Most people just wouldn't want to. The youth, to me, and I hate to say the youth, but I feel like if you're a dancer, you understand. You'll if you want something bad enough, you're gonna go beyond.
Yeah, and I also remember, Rennie, you telling me many times, like, even training as a performing artist is way different than training for battles and competitions, you know, and that it's even actually very hard to do both, and how do you even balance it? Like, you usually say when you're getting ready for a battle or competition, that's what you would dive into, but then you have to do the very same for performance, as being a performer and an artist.
Yeah,
because it's totally different.
it's completely different on stage. You know, you could perform on stage and be in your hip-hoppy mode, right, and just give it to them. But if you're talking about street dance theater and you have to do a range of stuff, right, someone said levels, that's exactly what it is. You have to, you know, really understand it's not about going 0 to 60.
Yeah.
You got to count all them other levels in the theater. And, you know, people used to come at us, man, our first 10 years, we would perform on stage and then battle directly after the show in the lobby, because some crew from that place thought we were weak. And then when they would come at us after the show, after we danced an hour and a half, and we would battle them for 2-3 hours in the lobby or outside of the theater.
Damn.
And, you know, and y'all know what happens. It becomes like doggone Megatron and all them cats. You know what I mean? When we pull together, like, oh, why you want the fire now? So, you know, I'm not up here going like, no. It's popular. You're going to get the fire now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we battle all over the world, man. Everywhere we went, everywhere we performed, we battled. When Flea Rock, when I had Skill Methods used to dance for me.
Flea Rock, yeah.
We battled in Germany, and this cat came out of nowhere, like, after the show, I battle you. And then everybody got it, all right, fuck it, we're gonna battle. And it was like cobblestone. And I said, Flea, I said, yo, don't, this cobblestone. You know, no, Rennie, that's, we got to, I'm like, we've been dancing for like an hour and a half already. So we all going, everybody going in. But I ain't never seen a cat do a drill headspin on cobblestone. He 6-step, came over, went into a drill headspin. He must have picked out a particular brick and was like, chair, got up, and he looked at the dude and was like, this is over, and walked away. I was like, now, but hold up. So
he had to be bleeding.
So we walking, we were like, oh snap. We were like, we going off, right? We walking, and Flea says out the side of his mouth, he says to me, Rennie, I heard something pop.
Oh no.
Popped his Achilles.
Wow.
He was out. Like,
wow.
But here's the thing.
But
before we even went to we battled, I said, y'all don't do it. I said, we're not going to do it because we got more shows. And that's the difference. When you are performing, you can't think battle mentality. People want to go out and hit and do all that. Not when you out here making money for your family.
Absolutely.
Because all the battle is, that's your machismo. That's your ego. That's, you know, like that can come later on your time, right? When you're making money, right? Yep. But we all had to learn the hard way that way. You know what I mean? Like, I got it. I understood that. But we paid the price, and we did that for 10 years, and we battled. And there's no disrespect to anybody. You know, all those cats, that's my man right there. But it was a funny moment. We was cracking up like what is wrong with you? You know? And he was smooth, but he was holding it down. He's walking on a ruptured Achilles, like, this is done. He like this.
I can't even imagine, Rennie.
But anyway, you know, that's just some of the stuff for touring and stuff like that. And there's lots of stories, you know.
I mean, thank you for sharing, because what you're sharing with us is like the mindset, and the discipline. I mean, you're the one who taught me and us as artists the discipline that goes behind being an artist, period.
It's hard.
It's super hard.
Because
I understand for fun, but
if you come from the street mentality, you know, I mean, me, K-Mel, a lot of, we was about to go in on some people. Like, it's like, it's you, because your mentality is that, if you're coming from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I had to learn to pull myself back. Shut up. I had to learn how to pull myself back, you know what I mean? From that thinking, you know what I mean? And I think that helped me be able to manage the, you know, my career and other folk, and, you know, just pull myself out of that space, because I was a part of it in the beginning. You coming from that mentality, you got to understand, when we were dancing professionally, just from a commercial standpoint, we used to have to physically fight the producers of the rap tour who hired us, or even rappers, to get paid.
Goodness.
It was a point, but nobody wasn't hiring us because we were just, you know, one of my dancers, you know, I'll say Babyface Brandon used to dance. He used to carry it like a mallet. We used to be in there rumbling after. I mean, I'm like, what, $105 wet. Wow. I'm not even a big dude, you know. We going in, you know, like we come a long way from that to that mentality, and a lot of us from my generation, you know, that's how we think often. You know what I mean? When I saw Peaches battling, it was a post somebody put up, and Peaches walked around. She was like this, and she walked around the circle. And I was telling her, I said, "Yo, that's the G walk. Let Muggs know you ain't, you know, soft." Like, she walked around the circle first, and then went in, bang, 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 bang. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's the generation we come from. To say, you know.
And we relate to that. I mean, we've taught us so much. I want to believe we carry some of that essence and edge, because I know as a company, we're trying, you've been a major inspiration for our work. So we're trying to be professional artists, but I know we take pride in also showing that we got skills and that we could battle and we could go there. Yeah. But it's a different mindset too. You're right.
Our battles ended in a full-on brawl, or somebody was getting shot.
Okay.
Every time. The first time, I'm gonna tell you, the first time I was in a battle in the 90s. It just changed my life. People were shaking people's hands. What? It was like flower children. I don't know what it was. Like, people.
It happens now.
Yeah, I was like, it just wasn't what I grew up with. You know what I mean? And I had to learn to like calm down. Like, every battle doesn't mean you're gonna fight afterwards, or it's gonna be, you know what I mean? You know, that's when I was out there still battling, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was, you know, I was still in that space, like in the early 2000s, you know what I mean?
Yes, you were.
You know, rest in peace, you know who used to calm me down? Skeeter Rabbit.
Oh, wow. He had that ability on everybody. Yeah. Skeeter Rabbit had the ability to calm down.
He used to say, he said, "Baby boy, I see you upset, baby boy. It's cool." Like, he would, I don't know how this dude would do that, but I was ready to go. I'm like, I'm calling Philly cats. I'm like, "Yo, Skeet, this is what's about to happen." You know what I mean? And Skeet calmed me down. And, you know, people don't know me like that because I wasn't that guy. You know what I mean? But I came from it, so I still felt it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my God, what wonderful gems and memory, Rennie. It's already, we only got 10 minutes left, and everything's been on Philadelphia and like your experiences, but that just shows how much you provided. I mean, this is years and years of dedication from you being able to provide these platforms. I think are you still doing Philadelphia this year? I mean, I know the COVID.
Yeah, so this is the plan. You know, I've been betting on everything's going to open up in June. Yeah. People are already trying to open things up, but I don't know how soon it is, that kind of thing. I mean, Philadelphia this year is August 23rd to the 26th, so it's the end of the summer. Okay. So I'm betting by the time I get to like basically the last week of August before September, I'm hoping that we are good. And so we're still on. You know, you hit me at Rennie Harris at Gmail if you want to get a major discount. I'm handing out discounts for that. And then what I'm doing is, if something happens, you know, I'm just you know, that just goes to the new move if we have to move a date or whatever. So it's set, you know. I'm planning on in 21 going back to my personal intensives, the Rhythm House intensives that I was holding right before my operations.
And we'll have you back.
Yes.
So people who was getting down with me for the I want to register. Hit me at Rennie Harris at Gmail if you want to register for Philadelphia this year, and I'll make sure that you get the major discount. And I'll just write that in there real quick. But
Rennie's trying to read all the comments.
Rennie's all savvy now. He's like, he's reading, he's talking, he's typing. Damn.
You know what? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm just saying.
And while he's writing, guys, if you guys have any last minute questions, we got 9 minutes.
I know we didn't even get to talk about Lazarus. Yeah. I think we have to have a part 3.
We might have a part 3 now.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, y'all the only ones I'm doing this series kind of like thing for. Nobody. I'm just.
Thank you.
Thank you. We everybody knows. I mean, how much we adore you, respect you, and stuff. And you know, I think the conversations just on Philadelphia and your intensives as a whole could take a whole hour. Because when you were talking about you want to come back with your rhythm, what is it called? Rhythm House
intensives. Yeah.
Rhythm House intensives. That's no joke.
That's like if
those are like full throttle intensive. That's where we have the experience of the Rennie 8s. We call them the Rennie 8s.
It is the Rennie 8s, y'all. And if y'all haven't experienced them, when you do, good luck. Catch your breath. Get your water. Get your towel.
I'm thinking about doing 8s to the end of June, like online, to see for all my students, alumni, and present students who know it.
Yeah. We're gonna sign up.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I mean they're great, and those. I mean, when you were thinking of that, I want to get a sense of that too. Like, because again, we're going back to the discipline and how you work as hard. So you create the Rhythm 8, you know, the Rennie's 8s. I call them the Rennie's 8s.
Yeah.
Why? Because that kicks our butt, Rennie.
Well, here's the thing.
If you suffer.
No, man. Like for this is when you're learning, most people are thinking in their head, right? And so your body is tense. You know what I mean? They're trying to learn and think, and your body and it hurt. You know, you want to get your body to be relaxed. And after you get through a half hour of those 8s, your body is relaxed. Now your body is being able to receive the information that's coming in.
True.
Right? It does. It not only conditions you to be ready to battle, because I use it for battle. Right? If you do those 8s, you in battle mode. If you can make it through 150 rhythms in 8s. Because at the top level, that's 150 rhythms, right? And so it's for conditioning and also teaching informing the muscle to remember through repetition. And so you come out of there, you know, in shape.
Yeah.
Anyone who's taking those 8s, they know that, you know, people are getting water, you know, throwing up in the trash can on the side.
I personally don't like you in those
Nobody
moments.
likes you in those moments.
So listen, so my Rhythm House intensive is specific. What I do is I teach is 6-hour classes, 2 hours at a time, each day, 2 hours at a time. GQ rhythm, traditional GQ rhythm for 2 hours. Learning the vocabulary for 2 hours. Then we run those 8s.
Wow.
The next day, all floor, lofting, old school style, loft movements for 2 hours. Review for 2 hours, and then we run every fucking thing on the excuse me for cursing, but you know I don't know who's on. Sorry, but you know what I'm saying. We run everything for the last 2 hours of, and then sometimes I do a history class lecture. You know, depending on what happens. So that normally happens in January. You know what I mean? In some disclosed place for those people who want. I just pick a place and we go. We used to do it in. We used to do it in. It might be good. I could do it in LA. We used to do it in. What was it? San Francisco. I'm sorry, Bay Area. So.
That's awesome. Well, we would love to host one in LA. Yeah, I know when we had you. The last time we had one of those was in 2017. No, I mean, sorry, 16 with Rennie. 2016.
Yeah.
the last
And
time
it's
we had one in LA?
and
When
it's
was that?
specifically to the focus is to learn my style, my thinking, my philosophy. Because what I realize is that, you know, you have to create your own history. You have to create your own legacy, and often like choreography and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that may or may not last. Who knows, right? But that will always last.
Absolutely.
You know,
So we
when you
only have
hand the story down to the next person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we only have like 3 minutes left, Rennie. Any last words on anything on Illadelph or your teachings and stuff? What are some things that you want to, there's so many young folks listening right now, you know, what are some words that you could maybe give us as advice as dancers to keep going and training, and
whether it's battling or performing or both?
I would say, you know, do everything you can do. If dance is your life, dance is your life. Like, there's no like, oh, I don't do choreography. Oh, I don't battle. Oh, I don't freestyle. You do everything until you become comfortable with it. The next thing I would say is, you know, take action. Action is the only thing that's going to change your current state of being right now. Reality is only the movement. I mean, only the moment that you're in. Reality is the moment. This moment right now is the only thing that's real. Everything you hear, everything you see right now is real. Everything else does not exist. So if you're in a house right now, you can see the outside, but you don't know that it's there. You can't touch it. Right?
Yeah.
When you're in the room, right? Who's to say that if you walk outside, the pavement just doesn't pop up and appear? Reality is the moment that you're in. And you can change that moment anytime you take action. So right now, my reality is this living room, right? I can walk out that door, my reality has changed. Because I took action to walk out the door. Right.
Yep.
So if you want to change the current state of what we're living in right now, politically, economically, and socially, you have to take action. And it's not marching, in my opinion. What they did with people, what they leave out every time about protests is that they leave out the fact that it was boycott that shut the country down. You stop buying for 1 hour, maybe a half hour. Hey, everybody don't buy at Starbucks for a half hour. It's going to fall.
Yeah.
You got me? So I'm just saying, if you want to change your reality, take action. And there's nobody else's fault but your own for not taking the action to change it. You know, if you're able to physically, you know.
That's dope.
Thank you, Rennie, so much.
Yep.
I get so inspired speaking to you, and I've had the honor to be connecting with you as much as often as we can, you know. And still to this day, you're just such.
We're doing part 3, sir.
We're doing part 3.
Okay, that's what's up.
We have to, because we got to do justice on and touch base on Lazarus.
We didn't do Lazarus.
They asked about that, but this conversation was definitely organic. This was just a question that went for a whole hour,
and we needed to talk about it. There's no way I'm gonna keep not have a conversation about Illadelph. These intensives are everywhere. And people need to know that Rennie Harris started and paved the way to make those things happen for a lot of us.
Yeah. So thank you.
So thank you so much.
But and thank all my peers, Peaches, Stretch, you know, Link, and all those cats, man. Fable, Wiggles, you know what I mean, cats that I've known for a while. You know, all the way back to New York to, you know, Pete, Electric Boogaloo, Sugar Pop, everybody, you know what I mean? Skeeter Rabbit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That still breaks my heart. Don. You know what I mean? Pope. You know what I mean? Marjorie, yeah. So last thing, call it Don Campbell-Lock. Stop calling it locking. It was named after him.
There it is.
Don Campbell-Lock.
Boom.
Boom. Done. Get it right, everybody. We love you, Rennie.
Love you, Rennie.
You take care, and we'll keep in touch on the next series for the third conversation with the one and only Rennie.